Good morning, everyone. Sir Owen Disney here. It is Wednesday morning, and I legitimately am going into work in about an hour, so I thought this would be a good time to watch Impact and then do my recap. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. We're going to talk a little TNA Impact from last week, so the second live from the Grand Ballroom in the Manhattan Center in New York City. Obviously, it's not live, but it was broadcast on Spike TV last week. Now, before I get started, unfortunately, I have to address the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that it was announced by TMZ, because they're so credible, that TNA has been canceled by Spike TV, and Impact Wrestling, as of October, will no longer be airing on Spike TV. So, a lot of people on the internet are dancing on the grave of TNA, and they're prepared to throw massive parties when TNA folds, and like, Vince is still the champion and there's no other promotion, and ha ha ha, WWE wins. No. Here's the thing. Competition creates caring. Not controversy like Eric Bischoff said, it does too, but competition creates caring, and caring means caring for your overall product. A lot of people would say WWE is very stagnant right now, and in some ways they are, and given the fact that, financially speaking, the WWE Network was not the greatest of ideas for the company, mind you, and the shareholders, they're losing a lot of money. They're losing money daily, so there's probably going to be more employee cuts by the time this week is over into next week. So by the time August hits, there's a lot of people that are going to be on the unemployment line in WWE. That's the reason why a promotion like Impact Wrestling needs to exist. And TNA needs to exist to provide an alternative to fans that don't necessarily have access to Ring of Honor, or they don't have access to watching videos from Japan, or they don't have access to watching regional independent promotions like Dragon Gate and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and even stuff to the small levels of like Pro Wrestling Syndicate and indie feds that bring in a lot of really big names, but also have some really awesome local talent as well. Check out your local indie fed. Do it as soon as possible. So, TNA, everybody thinks it's going to be the death of the company, and it's just a matter of time. I truly believe that is incorrect. I think that TNA will survive. I think they will find another television home, and I think that they will thrive on a new network. A new network that might actually, promote them. More so than reruns of 1,000 Ways to Die and Cops. So, yes, that is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking TNA will be fine. I think that this is not the end of Impact Wrestling, and Dave Lagana going to Ring of Honor and saying, hey, can I get my job back, basically, is probably something he needs to put the brakes on, because I don't think TNA's going anywhere, and if they do go somewhere, I don't think they're going to be off television very long. I think that you will be seeing TNA on television after the Spike TV deal, probably before the year is over. They may take like a couple weeks or a month or so off, but that's only because they need to finalize their television deal. But I think that they will get a new deal in place, and TNA will continue to thrive. And there is a good reason for TNA to thrive, because these shows in New York, if you are a wrestling fan, and a longtime wrestling fan, especially an ECW fan, you would see that these episodes have been on point in every single way possible. And when it all comes down to it, this has been some really good television for TNA. It really has. So, I would hate to see TNA go down the drain now, especially after these Monumentous tapings. And on August 4th, 5th, and 6th, they're going to be taping at the Grand Ballroom yet again. And that'll be the last set of tapings that is booked as of this moment for Spike TV. Now, there are rumors that Spike may buy Impact. That's a possibility, but I don't know if Spike has Panda money or if Panda is going to be willing to give up the company. Who knows? We'll see what's going to happen with that. That's a possibility. So they don't necessarily have to re-sign a contract because they own the company, so they basically would have it there. So that would be a reason why you don't see a contract. And then you got Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling kind of peeking its head out, basically saying we might be on Spike at some point, even though they were trying to negotiate with CMT, apparently, to run on their network. So, I think TNA will be just fine in the short term, and in the long run as well. TNA's not going anywhere, and I don't want it to, because shows like this continue to be promoted, and you have 2 hours, 2 solid hours, solid wrestling, and when you watch something like WWE programming, you get a couple of matches, and that's about it normally. So, Yeah, this is where wrestling is right now. Excuse me, I was trying to get to hold that in, but I couldn't help it. We start off the show, and it is going to be a match that was set up last week by the Director of Wrestling Operations, Kurt Angle. It is a Falls Count Anywhere match between the It Factor, Bobby Roode, and MVP. MVP, of course, still has his torn meniscus. He's still on crutches. And Bobby Roode comes out, and there's no MVP when the music hits. No MVP. Cameras scramble to find out what's going on, and they find MVP in the back, and he's on crutches, dressed in gear, so he knows he's going to have to wrestle, I guess. Sure. And basically, they are having a conversation. It's pretty much a one-sided conversation. Kurt Angle saying, "You will wrestle." And Bobby Roode sees this, is like, you know what, screw this. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to go fight, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So he goes to the back. He attacks MVP, and we start this match, and we get a nice little brawl, a really nice, really old school style brawl, really enjoyable. We pick it up midway through, and MVP goes for a suplex on the ramp. It gets blocked. Roode with a gut shot, suplex on the ramp. Here comes Kenny King from behind, and Kenny King gets a cheap shot in. Here comes Eric Young. He makes a save. He sends Kenny King to the back, so we're back to one-on-one match. So Bobby Roode with the clothesline on MVP, and MVP ends up sending Bobby Roode into the steel steps, and then face first into the steps twice, tosses him in, grabs a steel chair, and nails him in the ribs with it. And then over the back, and then finally drives it into the ribs twice and chokes him with the bottom of the chair. A chair shot to the lower back, and he sets up a chair, and he's going for the step-up kick off the chair assist, and it misses. Roode smartly goes after the leg and kicks the leg out from under him and goes for the chair and grabs the chair, and he nails MVP with the chair to the knee twice. And then once more for good measure, locks on a slop shooter. Yeah, it was not quite a Scorpion King deathlock, but it didn't look the greatest. I guess I'll play it as a commentator. I would play it up as the fact that MVP was in trouble anyway. He was probably going to tap out to regardless what Bobby Roode would throw out there. So when it came down to it, I would think that he just put on like a half-ass sharpshooter to try to get the win. And that's all that MVP needed to tap out, so that was the end of that match. This feud is far from over, and for that torn meniscus, MVP seemed to be not really favoring anything. Like, before I started writing, he actually tried to clothesline MVP. MVP tries to clothesline Roode over the barricade, and he ran and did it, and of course he got backdropped over the steel to the outside. So Dixie's in the back, and she's here to basically support Ethan Carter III, and she is promising something herself. Bully Ray making promises. She wants to make a promise herself. Not only will she not go through a table, but before the night is over, she will be the one standing tall over Team 3D and Tommy Dreamer. She said specifically she will be standing over his dead body, because Bully Ray likes to throw out over my dead body a lot, so Dixie turning around and saying she will be the one standing over Bully Ray's dead body. We'll see. Jeff Hardy limps to the ring, of course, selling his extreme beating at the hands of the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the Devastator, the Destroyer himself, Lashley. And yeah, if you haven't seen that match, check out the fact where Lashley got laid out on the ring steps and Hardy climbed to the top rope and went for the swanton. Lashley moved and Hardy hit the top of the ring steps. I've never seen that before. So Hardy comes out and he says that Willow will be back one day, but right now the fans wanted it, Kurt Angle wanted it, so Jeff Hardy is back. Sometimes I'll paint my face, sometimes I'll wear a mask, and sometimes I'll swanton ring steps. Why? Because I'm here to entertain all of you, and the fans go crazy for that. So he calls out a part of what will end up being TNA's future, and that is the return of Matthew Moore Hardy. Yeah, he actually calls himself Jeffrey Nero Hardy, which I don't really see very often, and he's like, brings out my brother Matthew Moore Hardy, and I was like, wow, this is so inside, because not many people know their middle names. So Matt Hardy comes out wearing a Stronger Than Death shirt, just like he came off a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and he did. And Matt loves New York City fans. He says, this moment It's not about necessarily getting the Hardy Boys back together. The moment is about getting brothers back together. I had to take some time off. I had to get healthy, mentally, physically, and emotionally. But now I'm back and I'm better than ever. And in that process, I let you and the entire fan base down. But I'm done apologizing. No more apologies here. I'll let my actions speak louder than my words. It's time to once again be the World Tag Team Champions. And in order to be the World Tag Team Champions, you have to beat the best in the world. And the best in the world are the current TNA World Tag Team Champions, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, the Wolves. So they call them out. Davey and Eddie come out with the tag team titles around their waists and over their shoulders in this case. They have complete respect for the Hardys and the path they've blazed for tag team wrestling. And in order to be the best of all time, which is what the Wolves want to be, they have to beat the Hardy Boys. So Davey basically accepts the challenge, they all shake hands, and it is made for tomorrow. Destination X, it is the Wolves and the Hardys for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. It's going to be an awesome match. Now granted, I know a lot of people are saying they're washed up, they're not as great as they used to be. You know, honestly, I think that the four men will bring out the best in each other, and I think it's going to be a really good back and forth, really fast-paced match that's very fitting of Destination X, which is a nice spotlight on the X Division. We find out that Austin Aries has made his decision, but he's not going to reveal his hand just yet. He's going to make us wait for it, so later on we'll find out if Option C will be cashed in or not. So we get the Bromans in the ring, and yes, all three Bromans, because Robbie E has made his triumphant return. Robbie E, of course, has been doing the reality show Steez with his real-life main squeeze, Brooke Tessmacher, who also works for Impact. And, of course, Robbie E goes into hype mode, like he always does. He says, nobody got a body better than Jesse. And Jesse grabs the mic and says, Robbie E is no longer afraid of clowns, bro. So they put over the new tank tops, and DJ Zema Ion says he's better than the X Division and New York City, and he calls himself the King of New York. Says this is my time and Destination X is my place to showcase what I can do, that I'm better than everyone. You don't call out the King of New York without repercussions. Who comes out to the ring? Brooklyn, New York's own Low Ki. Not Senshi, not Kaval, no. Low Ki has made his return to TNA, and he gets a nice little reaction here. So we pick it up midway through, and this is a short match, basically used to reintroduce the fans to Low Ki. Obviously, a lot of fans, given the fact we're in New York for this show, yeah, they definitely know a whole lot about Low Ki. And we get a nice spot here with a slingshot in on a sunset flip by Low Ki on DJ Zema Ion, and of course he turns it into the double boot stomp. Clothesline, spinning back kick, and he nails a heel kick, like the ankle, right to the back of the neck of Zema Ion. Charges in with a forearm in the corner, and instead of 10 punches, excuse me, he gets up on the middle turnbuckle, and he rains the elbows down. So he does elbow strikes instead of punches. Elbow strike, headbutt. Elbow strike, headbutt. Elbow strike, headbutt. And Zema breaks any sort of momentum that Low Ki has with a jawbreaker. So Zema charges in, and he misses the charge. Low Ki with a front drop kick that knocks Zema halfway across the ring. Hits the Key Crusher, and 1, 2, 3, Low Ki wins his return to Impact. And Low Ki will make his return to Impact yet again tomorrow at Destination X as part of the three-way dances to determine the three men that will battle in a final three-way dance next week to determine the brand new X Division champion. That is, if Aries cashes in Option C. I've got ahead of myself. So, Gunner and Samuel Shaw are talking in the locker room, and Shaw basically says he's in New York, he seems normal, which is kind of funny. And here comes Mr. Anderson showing up. He's like, you know what, we got a match. You can leave Samuel Shaw in the back. And Shaw's like, you know what, I know you don't right now, but someday you're going to trust me. And Anderson's like, nah. So that sets up a tag match for the next segment, which is going to be Gunner and Mr. Anderson facing off against Bram and Magnus, who I really enjoy their tag team work. And the fact that I finally can say now that if you put a little bit of extends on the beard. Yeah, Gunner and Bram look very similar. Very, very similar with their beard structure and their facial features and the fact that they're both about the same height. Yeah, I think, I can't say that they're the same person because obviously they are in the same place at the same time because we're having this feud now. So that's good. Ethan Carter III says he's the streets, grew up on the hard streets of Boca Raton. Rhino says that here there are no cops. Okay. Dixie brings in King Mo, who shows up, and Rhino puts him over, says, you know what? You got screwed in your fight against Rampage Jackson. You had that thing won. And King Mo basically says, he's like, yeah, I know, this is great. He's like, I love the put over. Keep going, Rhino. So Dixie says, you know what? There was a mistake here. Mo tried to fight Rampage in his hometown, wasn't very successful. It's exactly what you're doing here tonight. You're fighting Dreamer and 3D in their hometown, and you need to not take that lightly. You need to take them out, and take them out once and for all. So King Mo says he's going to put Bully Ray in intensive care, and that's pretty much the end of that. So we get our next match. It is the aforementioned tag team match. Gunner and Mr. Anderson against Bram and Magnus. Gunner and Mr. Anderson did the normal Anderson introduction with Gunner yelling Anderson at the end. I thought that was really interesting. Pick it up midway through Anderson with a clothesline on Magnus and a back elbow. Ducks the clothesline and a spinning neckbreaker by Anderson. And he charges in. He gets the boots up and high back body drop on Magnus. And he hits the Finley roll, in this case the Green Bay plunge, and goes for the mic check. Magnus elbows his way out, and Magnus goes to the floor to break momentum Anderson has. Anderson gives chase, and Bram ends up posting him and tossing him in. Walks right into the spine shaker, courtesy of Magnus, and 1, 2, 3, Magnus and Bram continued their tag team dominance. You have to think that they are definitely on a nice road to another tag team title shot. They had a really great match against the Wolves, and I think that they'll probably get yet another one. Say what you want about Magnus as a person, and a lot of people do, and I totally understand, even though I've never met the guy. But when it comes down to it, I like them in the ring together. I like the tag team cohesion that Bram and Magnus have. I think it works really well. And I like Bram a lot better in TNA than I did in NXT, to be honest. Even though we really didn't see very much before he got fired and got replaced by Connor O'Brien. So, or was it Rick Victor? I don't quite remember. Either way, he was replacing the Ascension. So there you go. So, after this is over, this isn't finished. This isn't finished at all. Gunner attacks Bram, and then Magnus nails him from behind, and then Bram low blows Gunner while Magnus is taking care of Anderson on the floor, off camera, mind you. So Bram grabs the turnbuckle, the steel turnbuckle, and here comes Samuel Shaw. He runs out. He stands in between the two, and Bram's like, okay, shrugs his shoulders, and nails Samuel Shaw in the ribs with a turnbuckle, and then in the back. So basically, Shaw took the bullet for Gunner. Fits Gunner's gimmick very well. So Bram clips Gunner's knee from behind after Magnus ends up getting clotheslined over the top when Gunner was pounding away, trying to make the save, but obviously he got knocked over the top and then nailed with the knee shot. So here comes Abyss. Abyss comes out, and we continue the feud between Abyss and Bram, and they trade blows, and he clotheslines Bram, and then an avalanche in the corner, goes for a choke slam. He gets elbowed out, and then he still walks into the goozle. Choke slam by the Abyss over the top rope to the floor. It's basically a choke toss over the top to the floor for Bram. So Bram and Abyss have not seen the last of each other. I know this will continue, and I know that it needs to continue because it makes perfect sense. We get a promo in the back. Bully Ray, Devon, and Tommy Dreamer. Bully says he's losing sleep so much about this because he's thinking about it so hard. I know the feeling, Bully. I really do. He wants to keep his promise to the entire wrestling industry to put Dixie Carter finally through a table, ridding the world of her forever. I know a lot of people will be very happy about that. Dreamer says, this is our town, and it's going to happen regardless. And Devon, of course, has to retort with, oh, my brother, testify. So when we come back, Kurt Angle comes out, and he wants to bring out Austin Aries because we're finally going to get Aries' official decision whether he is going to turn in the X Division Championship for a guaranteed opportunity at the World Heavyweight title this week on Destination X, which is tomorrow. Option C was created by Austin Aries. And everyone that's cashed in has won the World Heavyweight Championship. Uh-oh, when you start bringing history into it, it's not a good sign. Yeah, obviously, Aries cashed in first, and he won. Chris Sabin cashed in second, and he won. And now Aries has an opportunity to make Lightning Strike twice for himself, and Lightning Strike thrice for option C. So Aries says, you know what? This seems like a no-brainer. I should just hand the title over right now. And here comes Lashley and MVP. And MVP got out of his gear rather quickly. And he is now in a nice three-piece suit along with the World Heavyweight Champion Lashley in tow. MVP puts over Lashley like a good hype man, really being Danny O this time. And even though Danny O's not a hype man, he's really good about hyping things up. See, Lashley's bigger, he's stronger, he's tougher, and he's even faster. I kind of doubt that last one, honestly. He's what a champion is supposed to look like. For you, yeah, you're pretty good and all, but you're not a dumb guy whatsoever. But I will say, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen at all, kid. It's not in your future to be world champion. Aries like, you know what? Just cut the chit-chat and make your point. So, how about you stick what you know? Stick with the status quo, Austin Aries. And option C worked once before, but it won't happen again. Aries knows. He knows how to make greatness. He knows how to create greatness. What it takes to be World Heavyweight Champion. Unlike MVP, of course, who's never been a World Heavyweight Champion. You held me back when you were in charge, but now the cuffs are off and I can do what I want. See, I did create option C. I created option C for awareness for the X Division. I created it for the X Division. I wanted to leave a legacy for this championship going forward. I could do things in this ring that you couldn't do with 4 good legs. Lashley, you are bigger, you are stronger, and you are tougher. I think he was supposed to say... I don't know what he was supposed to say here, because he says he's tougher, but he says, but I'm tougher than you. Okay, I got it. It's early, give me a break. He says that he's tougher, but he is overall tougher than him. Okay. He knows he can beat anybody, and he's going to hand the championship to Kurt Angle, and he does so, and the fans go crazy. Next week at Destination X, when I beat you, not if, but when, I'll create option D, and that is to be a fighting champion going forward and giving a shot, a World Heavyweight title shot to the X Division champion at any time, any place, anywhere, not just once a year. MVP's like, you know what? You just made the biggest mistake of your life. So they make the match official, and it's now official for tomorrow's Impact, which is Destination X. Lashley defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Austin Aries. And it's going to be quite a match. Very enjoyable contest. I'm looking forward to it. We get our next match is for the Knockouts Championship. It is Gail Kim defending against Taryn Terrell, and these two tore it up at Slammiversary a year ago, and this was something that has to happen, whether Gail is a babyface or not, which she is. This had to happen, and they have to have this match. And they have to have this match with some sort of a stipulation that everyone is barred from ringside. And with Kurt as a babyface person in charge, I think that that's a really good possibility they can do just that. So this is for the Knockouts Championship. We pick it up midway through this match, and what a match it was. She goes up top, does Taryn Terrell, and Gail climbs up and arm drags her off the top. 1-2, Taryn kicks out. Forearm, and she whips her in, charges in with the crossbody in the corner, and she goes up top, missile drop kick on Taryn, 1-2, and a kick out. Goes for eat, defeat, counters, ducks the clothesline, and they both have the same idea, and both ladies go down with a double crossbody. When they get back to a vertical base, they trade forearms, and Taryn gets the upper hand with forearms, and she comes off the ropes, clothesline, boot in the midsection, snap suplex, and a side somersault neckbreaker. Goes up top, and here comes the beautiful people, dressed in black, mind you, looking gorgeous as ever. And Velvet pulls Taryn off the top rope, and the Botox injection by Angelina Love on Gail Kim in the ring, and then Velvet has to finish off Taryn herself with the in-yo face, stealing my move from my backyard days. And the beautiful people have laid to waste Taryn Terrell and Gail Kim, and they leave them laying. I really like this feud a lot, and I really like what they're doing to the beautiful people. I'm really glad Angelina returned to the company. This is actually a really good feud. And I think that the end game here, obviously, will probably be Gail and Taryn in a cage. No way of the beautiful people getting involved. A cage with a top on it, maybe. I mean, maybe not, because that takes away the flying body press off the top of the cage, which I know what happened. So yeah, this match needs to happen. They need to have a final battle between these two, and they have a handshake at the end, and I think Taryn Terrell needs to win the Knockouts Championship this way, and I think it makes perfect sense. Say what you want about Taryn Terrell, but at Slammiversary she brought her working boots, and she was very, very dedicated to wrestling and learning as many maneuvers as humanly possible. So yeah, that was something that I really want to look forward to. But in the time being, we have this feud with the beautiful people, and with Velvet and Angelina basically wanting to strike down anyone that shall challenge them, and there's no Knockouts Tag Team Championships because those have been completely forgotten. This is a way to really utilize that and their nice little feud, leading towards what will end up being Taryn and Gail Kim one more time for the Knockouts Championship. I'm guessing that comes up at Bound for Glory. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty positive that happens at Bound for Glory. I would say Taryn wins a number one contenders match, number one contenders Knockouts Gauntlet match, and then she's the one that gets the shot against Gail Kim at Bound for Glory. That's what I think is going to happen. So we get Taryn and Gail Kim in front of a Japanese audience. That will be awesome. Looking forward to that. Speaking of a Japanese audience, JB brings out the Great Muta. He comes out, has a very grandiose entrance. Crowd's going nuts for him. And here comes Robbie E. He calls him the not-so-great Muta, doesn't see the big deal, and he wonders where his match is. What about me? And I'm surprised the crowd didn't chant, what about Raven? And basically, he's like, you, me, match, now. So yeah, we get our next match, ECW style, right in. The Great Muta against Robbie E. The bell sounds and Robbie E attacks in the corner and pounds away with clubs to the back. It looks like Muta was completely no-selling everything, which makes sense. Muta busts out the green mist, and Robbie E is, of course, blinded. Snapmare, lightning elbow drop, dragon screw leg whip, shining wizard, 1, 2, 3, Muta wins. Here comes James Storm. James Storm walks to the ring. He's like, so you're the legend that all the boys in the back are talking about. All I see here is a joke, a has-been, a washed-up wannabe legend. You may be able to fool Sonata, but you surely can't fool me. You're trying to relive your glory years. In this company, it's me that's the legend. And I don't spit mist. And then he spear mists him in the face. And here comes Yasu, makes the save, and Storm nails him for good measure. Sonata comes in with a chair to make the save, and you all know what's going to happen here. He helps Muta up, and Storm is on the floor at this point watching this. So Sonata ends up blowing red mist into the face of Muta. Actually, no, Muta blows red mist into the air for awesomeness and great photo opportunity. Sonata nails him in the back with a chair, and then red mist of his own on Yasu, and then Sonata moonsaults the Great Muta. He gets out of the ring, the fans are jeering him crazily, and he bows to James Storm as his new sensei, and they leave together. I love this feud. I think this is going to be awesome. And if this does not have an endgame of James Storm and Sonata against Kai and the Great Muta at Bound for Glory, I'm going to be completely shocked. Number one, a tag match is a good way to keep Muta on the apron and only come in for the hot tag, like they did in the 6-man they did earlier this year. But yeah, I think that is a great idea, and I think that's what we're going to go with. And I think that's a great way to get into this. Robbie E was basically just cannon fodder. But it was cool for Robbie E to be able to work with Muta, given the fact that Robbie E, obviously, through his independent days, definitely knows all about the New York wrestling scene. That's basically where he cut his teeth in this business. So Dixie and King Mo are in the balcony talking to JB, and Mo has her back, regardless. We're sick of those letters. And JB's like, what? EC? And Mo gets up in his face. And Dixie's like, you know what? I can have him just kick your butt right now. And then I can fire you just to add insult to injury. But you know what? If you want to chant those letters, I'm going to give you a reason to. And JB's like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, you just wait and see. Watch and learn is what Mo says, and that's the end. Main event time, 6-man New York City street fight. Ethan Carter III, Rhino, and Rockstar Spud taking on Tommy Dreamer, Bully Ray, and Devon. And this match picks up midway through, and Bully with a flip-flop and fly and the bionic elbow on EC3. Dreamer tosses in a garbage can, and Bully with a snap jab on Rockstar Spud. Kudos to Spud, by the way, this whole feud. I really enjoy the fact that Rockstar Spud took British Boot Camp, and when he won that, he came in and we didn't know what they'd do with him. They may send him to OVW and just leave him there. But no, he's actually been on Impact every single week, and it works really well. I like what they've done with him. It works completely, and he's still able to wrestle, so it works. So, EC3 comes... excuse me. Well, Bully breaks out the cheese grater. It's New York, gotta love that. And he cheese graters the chest of EC3. Devon with the snapmare puts the can lid on the nuts. So, basically, there is a cane, the Singapore cane, and a can lid, and they take turns hitting Ethan Carter III the nuts with it. Makes sense. Rhino grabs a lid of a garbage can, and he nails Devon, and then he nails Bully, and he Dreamer, and then Bully, and then he clotheslines Bully. Wow. He nails Dreamer, and then Bully, and then he clotheslines Devon down. Sorry, it's hard to read my writing sometimes. Rhino puts a can in the corner, setting up your own demise, you know how it works. Charges in, he eats the boot, and Devon tosses Rhino face first into the garbage can, obviously. Like I said, setting up your own demise. So Rockstar Spud nails Dreamer and goes for the 10 punch. He gets stopped at about 6. Bully with the cookie sheet to the back of the neck. And of course, that stops that dead in its tracks. He picks him up on the shoulders. Devon climbs up to the top rope, and they nail the Doomsday Device on Rockstar Spud. EC3 eats the flapjack from 3D, and then Dreamer ties him up to the Tree of Woe. EC3 has a garbage can on his face, and Dreamer with the hesitation dropkick, and that sends the can into the face of EC3. Fans chant EC Dub. They stop, start chanting TNA, so it works really well. They do the what's up headbutt to Rhino with Dreamer and Bully both holding the legs apart in the wishbone formation. And Devon gets the table. So, a hooded guy nails Devon, and you can see a beard protruding. We know who it is, but we can't really mention it yet. Bully pulls him over the barricade, and it reveals the fact that it's Gene Snitsky, thus called by Taz. Dreamer hits the pile driver on Rockstar Spud, and EC3 with a cane shot is ducked, and Dreamer with a White Russian leg sweep. Nice shout out to the Sandman there. Second time we've seen it on television this week, actually. So the cane shots to EC3 over and over again. He sets up the pile driver, and here comes another hooded gentleman who comes out, and it is Ezekiel Jackson. And Ezekiel Jackson comes in and nails Dreamer from behind. EC3 hits the 1%er on Dreamer on the steel chair, and 1, 2, 3, the match is over. Fans, of course, going insane and absolutely angry at the fact that their hometown heroes got beaten by the Carter family here. Dixie and Rotten King Mo come out, and, of course, security is accosting Snitsky, and Dixie says, you know what, stop it, he's with me. They get in the ring, Rhino comes in and gores Devon. Bully gets in, but the numbers game is too much. He gets mugged, and Big Zeke with a big Uranagi on Dreamer, and Snitsky with a choke slam on Bully Ray, and all the men stand tall over the broken and beaten carcasses of Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, and Devon in the center of the ring as we go home. So yes, that was how we ended the show, and a really hot way to end the show, especially with the end game coming up in a few weeks. And if you know what I'm talking about with the end game, yeah, this is pretty awesome what's about to happen. So yeah, apparently what we're hearing is Zeke is going to be known as his shoot name, which is Reichland Stevens, or Reichland. That's what he was mentioned at on the ImpactWrestling.com website, the hype for this week's Destination X, which is tomorrow. And Snitsky was actually referred to by his name, so yeah, I think that there's a possibility that it may be his, I don't know if that's his shoot name or not. I think I can check real quick on camera, and I can find out if that's his shoot name. Yeah, his name is legitimately Gene Snitsky, so he can call him by his real name. So yeah, they don't have to copyright that. WWE does not have that copyrighted. So yeah, what we have coming up for this week, Impact is going to be preempted, obviously, because Destination X is coming on Spike TV tomorrow night at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I forgot the long days. It's pay-per-view, so I'm used to saying 8. 9 p.m. you're going to have Destination X, and so far, all that's announced, TNA World Tag Team titles on the line, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, the Wolves defending against Matt and Jeff Hardy. So the Hardy Boys against the Wolves in New York for the tag team titles. You're also going to see Option C get cashed in. The greatest man who ever lived, Austin Aries, taking on the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the Destroyer, Bobby Lashley. As well as, because Aries gave up the X Division Championship, we have to crown a new X Division Champion. So Destination X will bring you three-way dances to determine who will battle in one final three-way dance next week on Impact to determine who is once and for all the TNA X Division Champion, and that is in the form of these matches. You will see the return to Impact Wrestling of Brian Cage, and he will face off against Saya Sonata and Crazy Steve of the Menagerie. You're going to see Low Key in his return was very successful this week. He's going to go into a three-way situation with Manic and DJ Zima Ion, so Zima can get some revenge on Low Key potentially. It's a possibility. And in our final match, you are going to see Tigre Uno, Samoa Joe, and the return of the Notorious 187. Homicide returns to TNA, and that three-way dance to determine who will go on to the final three-way next week to determine who is the new X Division Champion. What I recommend on this show, MVP and Rude, good old-fashioned style street fight, very enjoyable. I really like the interaction between the Hardys and the Wolves. I think that worked really well. Zima and Low Key was short, but it was effective. Brandon Magnus, if you like the team, the match against Gunner and Anderson was okay. Muda and Robbie E, I would skip if you are not a fan of Muda. Gale and Taryn, definitely check that out. I like the intensity with Kurt Angle involved with Aries and Lashley and the MVP involvement as well. I think that's going to go over very well. I honestly think we see MVP and Angle somewhere down the line before Angle leaves the company, if he does end up leaving the company. Who knows at this point what's going to happen. And I think that the end was very ECW style, very reminiscent. This storyline is very reminiscent of when Jerry the King Lawler, as an outsider, brought Rob Van Dam and Sabu's services and tried to take out Tommy Dreamer and the rest of ECW. And this, of course, led to Jake the Snake Roberts, and it led to Sonny, and then that's what this was reminding me of. And I like sometimes when storylines repeat themselves, especially if it's something I enjoyed from the past. And this is definitely something I enjoyed from the past. So yeah, I really enjoyed Impact this week. Very excited about Destination X tomorrow. You'll get that recap this coming Wednesday. If you're a Pop viewer, stay tuned because tomorrow, AJ's Zombie Reviews, we're going to be talking about Dead Snow 2, Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies, as well as Goal of the Dead and Chrysalis, and that's going to be tomorrow. Friday, AJ's Movie Reviews will bring you a couple of things, actually. We're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Get On Up, Cavalry, and a movie of, you're also going to see Cuban Fury, and another film, actually, that's going to be on the list. So 6 movies, obviously, coming out this week, and that's coming up for AJ's Movie Reviews. Saturday, Ashley will bring Gaming with Ash back to Pop, and we'll get his views on everything. He'll continue from last week, and hopefully you guys and girls out there are enjoying those. And, of course, we're going to end the week on Sunday with a brand new Versus, talking about true crime, and that'll lead you wrestling fans into Monday, which we're going to talk NXT and SmackDown from last week, as well as we're going to finish the wrestling content with a nice double shot. Raw on Tuesday, and back to Destination X on Wednesday. Thursday's up in the air, and very soon we'll get some new Halloween Horror Nights news from both Hollywood and Orlando. And it's official as of right now, as long as the dates stay the same. My first day in California, me and HHN Fan 16, my friend Tristan, will be going to Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood. So there is a chance I will be going to Horror Nights in Orlando, just like normal, on the 20th. On the 19th, and then on the 20th, I'm going to go to Horror Nights in Hollywood. It's going to be awesome. So yes, that is the video for today. I actually have to get ready for work because I have to leave in about 20 minutes. That's a shoot, guys. And hopefully you enjoyed the video and continue to watch Impact. Like I said, if you're a fan, then stay strong. Things will get better, trust me. And I know they will. So I'm on it. I guess I'm a TNA apologist, apparently. But still, these New York tapings have been phenomenal. And I look forward to see what happens at Destination X. So in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, help spread the word about Pop. If you haven't yet liked our Facebook fan page, go to Facebook, click like on that Facebook fan page, it's Suro and Disney Pop. If you'd like to go old school on Facebook and send me a friend request at Suro and Disney, tell me you're a fan, tell me you like my stuff, tell me you like AJ's stuff, tell me you like Ashley's stuff, tell me you like Pop in general, and you can leave me a comment that way on that Facebook Messenger gimmick. You can do that because I have that now on my phone. As well as, if you like to tweet me, it's at Sir Owen Disney. Last but certainly not least, you want to send your thoughts, comments, queries, and opinions. You want to talk Impact Wrestling with me. You want to talk WWE with me, wrestling in general. You want to ask me questions. You want to become a popcaster yourself. You want to send your content that way. Or if you just like to say, hey, Owen, you're doing a great job and keep up the good work, then you're more than welcome. Send me an email, SirOwenDisney@gmail.com. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.